Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
And welcome everybody to Globebusters Sunday Live with Landucci. I am your host, Bob Xanadude60, and we are back with another great Globebusters show for you today.
Bob.
Oh,
Bob,
what?
You're on the wrong channel.
Oh, shit.
You shouldn't have showed up here today. Hey everybody, it's Jaron, back with another live video for you. It's a Globebusterish Sunday Live show with Landucci and special guest Bob Xanadude60. Bob, welcome back.
Well, thank you much. I am very glad to be back. It's been kind of a long vacation, but I've enjoyed it and gotten a lot of stuff done.
Awesome. Well, I know we're happy to have you, Iru. Iru's joining us as well. Iru, are you there? Well, Iru was with us, but don't know what happened. That was quick.
He's muted.
Sorry.
Holy
I was mute. You know, I am a really respectable guy.
Very respectable.
And we have Bob like a guest, so that's a pleasure, man.
Yeah, it is a pleasure. So,
Yeah.
Bob, I guess tell everybody what's been going on with you and what's coming up in the future. And I know people have been missing you. I know for sure I've been missing you. I know.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you and myself have been missing you.
You just missed the
Special-
excellent technical stuff.
Yeah, special that.
Yes, exactly. And not just Jaron rambling, but and struggling and having to figure out the audio before the show and all that stuff. And Bob, nobody does a better job of organizing the whole week's happenings than you. I have to admit that I don't think anybody kept as close than I. Maybe David Weiss, but I don't think he's a little bit scatterbrained.
And maybe some Jesuit, they order the calendar and, you know,
That's
that kind of
That's
stuff.
true. I'm talking about today's day.
Ah,
but-
okay, sorry.
No, but Bob just did such an excellent job of keeping track of everything that happened throughout the week, organizing the show, coming up with a topic, and just all the things that I don't think anybody does a better job than Bob. So we can't wait to have you back full-time, Bob.
Well, I'm happy to be back, and yeah, it's great. Well, all kinds of things have been going on. Well, first thing I want everybody to know is that the reason that I took the time off was not because Jaron and I decided to end the show because of gravity. Okay.
Okay.
You've heard that theory too?
Yes, I've heard that many times. It's like, oh my God, people will come up with any rumor. I saw it going around. Oh, Globebusters is finished because Bob and Jaron are fighting over gravity. It's like, oh, give me a break.
It's so sad. It really is. It just tells you that you just don't even need to say anything. You don't need to do anything. And all these rumors just run rampant. So
They really do. They totally take on a life of their own and yeah, I don't know what to say about it other than you just have to laugh at it, I guess, and take it with a grain of salt. But
right.
Everybody's got to be the first person to get that top story in, and I was even getting messages, saying, "Oh yeah, we got to report on this. So what happened to you guys? And give me the whole story." It's like I'm taking a break because I first of all. I do that. It's not like this is kind of an extended break that I did take this time, and I will be honest. I was getting a little tired of some of the goings on in the community.
Right.
Frankly, I just kind of needed an attitude adjustment, honestly, because it'll get to you, and so I took that. And at the same time, also, Cammie had been spending some time in North Carolina. She went out there after we did the Force the Level experiment and promptly fell in love with it. She spent about 3.5 weeks with Karen B. I didn't think she was ever going to come home. So
Hopefully
she
you
was
bought
out there.
a round trip ticket.
Yeah, well, fortunately we did it on air miles, but But yeah, so she went out there and fell in love with Karen B's property, and she lives on, she kind of lives on the edge of a forest, in the middle of a forest, and it's really quite beautiful. She kept sending me these videos, and she's like, "I really like it here. It's so nice." And then of course she started looking at houses, and I couldn't believe it. You look at the price of houses there, and as compared to something in Colorado that's comparable. For example, like take our house, for example. Iro, you never did make it here. I can't believe that, but Jaron has seen my house.
I've been there, done that.
Yeah, and my house is probably worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $450 to $500,000 right here in Colorado. Now in New York, it'd probably be worth a whole lot more than that. But a house like mine in North Carolina would probably sell for like $175,000. In other words, the price of houses is like one third there what it is here, and the price of living pretty much is too. So Cami was sending me all these pictures of houses, and for like $240,000 you can get these fabulous, I mean, like 4,000 square foot houses, which I don't want because I really want to downsize. But
Right.
I mean, with swimming pools and a couple acres of land and the forest and all this stuff, and I could not believe what you could get for, literally one third what it costs here in Colorado to do it. So we started looking at that and, kind of checking it out. And it's like, this looks like it would be a really kind of a cool place to kind of semi-retire. And, and we can actually make that happen, realistically. So we decided that we were going to fix up the house, and fortunately we have had some fabulous help, people coming from all over the place to help us. And I kind of want to give a shout out to Zachary Zabala, Good Times for All, who has been here literally for the last 2 months, getting our yard ready and just fixing all kinds of stuff. He's here. We have Doc Michael here also.
Oh, cool. I met him in Sacramento.
Yeah. So he came out and he's helping us out. And then we have the guy that helped us that Force the Level. His name is Lockwood. And Lockwood is a card. He is an amazing individual. I really, really like him. Lockwood just celebrated his 72nd birthday with us just a few days ago. And I have never seen, when I reach his age, I really hope I have half the energy that he does. But he's just an incredible person. So, I mean, all these people are coming in and helping us out, and it's just been absolutely amazing. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And now the house, we're just about ready to list it. And hopefully within the next month and a half, something like that, we'll be out in North Carolina.
Awesome. That'll be sweet. Good for you. I'm happy for you. That's awesome. And you'll be able to not work as much, right?
Exactly. Well, that's the crazy thing is, part of this, I guess stepping to the edge of a cliff, if you will. I've had a business here in Denver for the last 20 years. I'm doing IT engineering, and I don't really have a job there or anything like that. Of course, granted, we'll be able to kind of semi-retire anyway, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. But, at this point, I'm just going to kind of let the universe take it over, and, whatever happens, and I'm sure we're going to be fine. And we'll just see how that goes. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I bet Cammie's looking forward to being close to Karen B. and you as well.
Yeah. Everybody's been to her house except me. I've never seen her house, but I've seen pictures of it. It's really, really nice. So, just really looking forward to it. And it's just kind of going to be starting an entirely new chapter in all of our lives. And the thing that Jaron likes about it is he's going to be out there in North Carolina where Epic Games is, and Epic Games has expressed an interest in hiring him full time. So that's going to be kind of cool.
Oh, tremendous. And for people who don't know, he's talking about his son, Jaron.
Yeah, my son, Jaron, yes.
Yeah,
my other son, Jaron.
Epic Games wants nothing to do with me.
No, but I mean, be careful because Karen B has a machine gun.
Uh-oh.
Yes, she does.
She drives a machine gun, man.
We did get a super chat from Rhino, beer and bratwurst over there in Monterey. Says, keep crushing, good crew today. And we got one from Dan Morris who says, we love you, Bob. Can't wait for you to return, or for your full-time return. And I totally agree. Can't disagree with that at all. I know Iru awaits your return. I do. When do you think, so you're going to be coming back, we're going to be doing Globebusters, but it's going to be probably till after you move?
Well, I think what we'll do is, I don't want to wait that long, to be honest with you. I'm kind of itching to get back to it. So I'm thinking that, on the 25th of this month, which would be in about 2 weeks, I will come back and we'll start doing shows again. Okay. With the caveat that, obviously we're going to have to at some point pack up all our stuff and leave.
Right.
But until then, I see no reasons why we can't, continue doing Globebusters. Maybe not quite as long, but right. I know everybody's really excited for us to be back, and yeah, so I think maybe about the 25th, we're going to start officially our new season and go from there if that works for you guys.
Yeah, works
Great.
great for me. Iru, does that sound good to you?
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm available 24 hours.
24 hours a day? Wow, we're gonna start doing some.
No, 24 a week.
24 hours a week. Okay,
A week.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
okay,
We just-
divided.
I'll try and figure out when in there I can have you on. So, no, that's great, Bob. Excited that you'll be back. And so, yeah, August 25th, people can check that out. We will be doing shows on the Globebusters channel. And so everybody can. And I think I agree with you, Bob, that the shows don't need to be quite so long. You know, I think we used to go close to 4 hours. We were happy if we could get out at 3 hours and 20 minutes or 3 hours and a half. So like today's show, I'll probably keep it at about 2 hours at the most. I just think it's more stomachable for, is that a word? Stomachable. I think so.
It is now.
Yeah,
It is
you
now.
can understand.
Just invent. It's pretty good. So I think it's more. People enjoy that a little bit more. At least for us, we'll try and cram the important stuff in there, and that's what I said. Bob's always done a great job doing. So you guys both saw, just in news of the week that Mr. Epstein hung himself, supposedly, right?
Yes.
If you can believe that, in a jail cell where there's no possibility to even do that, there's nothing to hang yourself. I don't know if maybe he had dinner that night and it was a rope and a small stool for some reason. Maybe that's what they had for dinner that night. I'm not really sure how that's even possible. And then I saw that the cameras malfunctioned, which is even funnier. It's just
Yeah.
believe
Isn't that
this stuff.
amazing?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I got to tell you, I mean, I've been suspicious of this whole thing anyway, that the predictions for all the arrests and all this stuff. And yeah, people are getting arrested allegedly, but the high profile ones like this, you knew that something was going to happen. Like, they would come up missing or dead or something like that. And honestly, I don't believe for 1 second that this guy is dead. I'm sure he's probably on an island somewhere in the Caribbean, in his own private little mansion, just hiding out, being incognito. But for me, I don't believe it. I do not believe for 1 second that he was ever going to be charged with anything or face any charges. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
it just kind of seems to go with the flow with what they do.
Right. I've heard a lot of opinions on it, and my opinion is it's a guy they couldn't have out there being able to talk and reveal anything if it went further. Because somebody like that can, maybe get a little bit of a deal, right? Say, oh, well, I'll tell you about everybody that was involved. Give me protected custody or give me a shorter sentence. And, there's so much of that goes on that it wouldn't surprise me that people started learning that he was going to be somebody who might talk and just got rid of him. So, I totally agree that he didn't die by hanging himself in jail. I just don't think that that's something that happened. But whether or not he's alive somewhere else and they've kind of moved him off, or whether or not somebody took him out, I don't know. But the one thing is you can't believe or trust in what the mainstream's saying. It's just something that they've taught us, and it's their own fault. And so we move on. But I think there'll be a lot coming out about that. So I wanted to cover that real quick. Also, Bob, one thing I wanted to ask you is what's new with FE Core?
Well, all kinds of stuff is going on in FE Core right now, and it's actually kind of exciting. Well, first of all, the first thing that's up is I think on this Thursday and Friday, they're going to start the long-distance microwave transmission experiment, and they're getting all set up for that. And I think on Friday, Sandor told me they were going to have some videos. But essentially what we're doing is we're taking a 5.8 gigahertz microwave, and we're going to be shooting it about 150 miles across the ocean. We've got it all set up. They've already got it installed and everything. And so they're preparing for that. That will be very exciting because the curvature, of course, for that, is a lot. I'm not even sure. I'd have to run the numbers on it, but I'm sure that it's probably at least a couple of miles that we should be, blocked by the Earth. And I have no doubt whatsoever that this is going to work. And of course, many of you know, I've said many times that I used to work for a company called Western Telecommunications here in Denver. And I loved that job. It was really cool. I was in my 20s and got to travel all over the country building these point-to-point terrestrial microwave sites. They're like 10,000 channels, back in the day when it wasn't the internet, well, frankly, hadn't even been invented yet. But we would do some diagnostics on occasion, and we would bypass one or two links. And with the link's average hop length around 60 miles, we would come very close to 200 miles and have very solid signal, no problem whatsoever. And so, this particular experiment, I have no doubt we're going to get a signal, and I'm just waiting to hear what the baller's excuse is going to be for this one, right? Because they're obviously never going to accept it.
No, I'm sure they'll have one.
Oh.
Yep. And the other really exciting thing, and this is that I am just psyched about this because, as everybody knows, I have been the sole individual that has been credited, as the only person on Earth that has ever proven Earth rotation, right?
Thank you, Bob.
Yes, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, welcome for that. But even though that was, of course, nonsense, I was simply reporting on what Rick Zimmerman's findings were with the fiber optic gyro. And by the way, we found out some very interesting things about that not only did we miss, but so did our baller critics. And that's one of the things we're going to be exposing on Globebusters when we come back. But I want to kind of put this in a nutshell, and we do have the experimental data that we will be showing and revealing to the public because, frankly, what happened, and I'm not going to say exactly what happened, with the first readings, but this is something that, not only did we miss, but, like I said, all the baller critics, and this is something that, again, if they really would have been looking at this, they would have caught our error as well, but they didn't. But the bottom line is I've heard, I've talked several times about this friend of mine that is a PhD candidate for electrical engineering, and he writes all kinds of articles. I can't mention his name because he holds a very, fairly lofty position in academia, and not to mention he's about to get his PhD. And he sent us a methodology that would allow us to prove or differentiate and prove what we were actually picking up with the fiber optic gyro. Of course, the question was always, is it Earth rotation that the fog measured, or was it the ether, as I have been claiming and referencing back to the experiments of old? Well,
and sorry, Bob, you are not the only one. I mean, Mach also put in his writes that the movement of the firmament and the sun and the moon could create the dynamics to move this kind of equipment.
Oh, well, there you go. Mark Sargent did?
No, Mach, the guy
Ernest
who
Mach.
created the sound.
Oh,
barrier
Ernst Mach.
measure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was the only one that I knew of, and obviously the ballers were anxious to give me credit, and because they wanted me to have that Nobel Prize.
Yes.
Which I'm still waiting on at this point.
It's coming.
But anyway, so my buddy, the PhD EE candidate, sent us this methodology, and it's so simple. It's so simple, guys. It's absolutely defies the imagination. And so we went camping a couple weeks ago. Many of you may have seen Zach Zabala's Good Times for All footage of our camping trip on his channel. He did all kinds of stuff on it. But we went up there to a place called Guanella Pass, and that's where we go camping. And Guanella Pass at the summit, I think, is around 11,000 feet, because, at the campsite, we were over 10,000 feet. So around is either 10,800 or 11,000, something like that. So we took a fiber optic gyro measurement there. I'm sorry?
Nope.
Or is that me? Okay, I was getting a little bit of feedback. I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to talk. Anyway. All right, so we took some measurements there, and here's the idea of what we were told on how to prove this. All right, so if the fiber optic gyro is truly picking up Earth rotation, okay, that means that no matter where we are on the same latitude line, right, of the Earth, because if it's a spinning ball, you could be at any point on a latitude line, and the quote-unquote rotation that the fiber optic gyro would pick up would be pretty much exactly the same, right? And it wouldn't matter what elevation you were at. It wouldn't matter if you were at sea level. It wouldn't matter if you were at 10,000 feet, because, again, you're at a fixed point on a sphere and you're going around in a circle, and that rotation rate is going to remain the same regardless, okay? So what what we did, and after we were clued into this, is my buddy said, look, well, all you need to do is take these yaw measurements at different elevations on the same latitude. And of course, the idea behind the flat Earth model is that we're claiming, just like all these other scientists, had in the past, that this was the ether. Okay, and the ether essentially forms this toroidal pattern, right? It's kind of like a big. You guys have all seen the toroids that magnets will create around them if you look at them through a ferrocell. Mm-hmm. Well, theoretically, the dielectric is this pattern that emerges that is 90 degrees from any single point on the magnetic toroid, and that is the dielectric, aka the ether. Okay, so it will obviously change its rotation rate as it's spiraling down in this toroidal fashion from high elevation to low elevation. And it's like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So obviously what we did is we took a reference point at an extremely high elevation, which was Guanella Pass. We're also going to be doing it this week and next week from Mount Evans, which is 12, 13, 14,000 feet. It's way up there. Pikes Peak is another place we're going to be doing this from, and then all we have to do is just go east and west, of course, from those points. And Colorado drops down to as low as into the 4,000 feet. So we can get as much as a 10,000 foot variance in altitude on the same latitude line, which is the whole reason why we did this. It makes Colorado the ideal place to do this. Well, so we did take these measurements, and from the latitude at the summit of Guanella Pass to a place out in frankly, where we did the balloon launch, the first night balloon launch. It happens to be at exactly the same latitude. Chris went out there, we did some tests, and lo and behold, what we found was a little bit better than a 1 degree variance in rotation, which absolutely assassinates the globe model and fits perfectly into the predicted rotation of the luminiferous ether, right? And this is something that we're going to redundantly do it over and over and over. And the good thing about this is that we can measure these different velocity rates with the fiber optic gyro, and we can actually plot what the luminiferous ether looks like as it comes down around the plane, which is something that has never been done before. And this is something that, again, FE Core is going very much forward with. We will absolutely be releasing all of this data, and none of it's going to be hidden. We're not going to be accused of that BS anymore. But, the bottom line is if this was a globe, we would not be seeing a 1 degree variance on a difference of about, what was it?
10,000 feet or so?
Yeah, about 9,000 feet, something like that. I mean, and that is substantial. That's huge. And there will be no rebuttal or reasonable explanation, I'm sure, from the Globers on that. But everybody in FE Core is very excited about it because, here it is. We've taken this very same fiber optic gyro that we've been credited, with the rotation of the Earth, and we've made a contribution back to the older ways of thinking, when science was actually real before Einstein came about and corrupted the scientific method and everything else about science. We have now kind of vindicated, people like Heaviside and all the all the old time, the 19th century electrical engineers that knew about this in the first place. So very exciting stuff. And that's another thing that FE Core is working on, and there's a few other things too, but I'll let you guys say something because I've been talking this whole time.
No, it's great. It sounds like they've been incredibly busy. And then I saw, was Mike Cavanaugh on with Slice Barkane?
He absolutely is, and that's another thing that is very interesting. I don't know if he's on currently right now, or he said something about he was going to be on today. Maybe now, or it may have been earlier. I think he said 8 p.m. his time, which I think is around now. Anyway, so he's talking to Slice Barkane because those guys, think that they've completely debunked Stefan's gyroscope. And, it's really comical how they really understand absolutely nothing. And I don't know if it's just that or they're just doing their job of paid obfuscation,
Right.
trying to muddy the waters on it. And that's kind of what I think that it is, because really this is not rocket science, what's going on with the gyroscopes. And even though there are some flat earthers that think gyroscope science is BS because you can't put it through this scientific method or whatever, that doesn't mean that it is invalidated by any means. And the gyroscope absolutely has not only a function in science, but it has a place in aviation, in navigation, in so many things. And to eliminate it as not even existing because of some ridiculous idea that you have, to me is beyond belief. But we won't go there, because that's something I'm just not going to even give the time of day. But suffice it to say that Slice Barkane and who are those guys, Geo Streber, Sean Hufford, and not only are they complete pieces of crap for what I think they probably did to you on the PayPal, but they're trying to do it to me now also. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So anyway, Mike decided to go over there and kind of school them and tell them where they were, completely wrong, how they didn't understand it. And they truly don't. They will tell us stuff like, well, you just don't understand. Right. It's like, really, then explain it to me. And they'll start going into this, textbook, rhetoric that they've got. But, Mike is going over there and he's going to explain to them in very scientific and engineering terms exactly what's going on, because they're just, I think they're obfuscating it on purpose. But he should be doing that right now, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's. I thought that it was a little earlier today, or it might be still going. But good for Mike, and good for Ranty and other people like that can go and put up with those guys. Because a long time ago, I just realized I don't think those guys are searching for the truth. I don't think that they, are really looking for that. I think that they're looking for many other things. They're looking for views. They're looking for likes. They're looking for fans. And so they just kind of keep putting out the same nonsense. Let's make fun of flat earthers. And really, when you look at that, how hard is that? How hard would it be to start a channel and just say, well, let's make fun of flat earthers because we can just, spit out this scientific jargon that's been, held up for years, and we can just look intelligent and we can say how stupid they are. And that's what I see these channels as doing. And then they just tell lies. I mean, when they lie about other people, like you said, Bob, when they go after my PayPal or they go after your PayPal, and then they tell all their viewers a straight-up lie. And I hope people understand, if somebody's lying to you, then don't watch them. It's just that easy. And so I hope, but again, all their fans aren't going to see it that way. So, yeah, after my PayPal got shut down last week, I believe it was last Saturday, somebody sent me a couple clips of Sean Hufford and those guys talking, and they said, oh, so now what's going to happen is Jaron's going to take over Bob's PayPal account, and so now if you send money to Globebusters, that money actually goes to Jaron, and therefore they're breaking the policy. And then they reported the Globebusters PayPal, and I don't know, do you still have that up? Is that still going, or did they remove it because of that?
I do. I do have it up, and no, they haven't removed it yet. And so I mean, again, they did take away Jaron's, and this is, obviously I am the channel owner of Globebusters, and so by me putting a PayPal for donations with the Globebusters name at paypal.me/Globebusters, there's no rule that I am breaking. And their claims that, Jaron is taking over my PayPal account is utterly ridiculous. You can't even do that.
It's just nonsense. And then you hear these guys talking, and they're telling their viewers that this is what's happening. So if you're just some viewer and you just listen to Sean Hufford, this becomes fact in those people's minds. And I just hope people recognize that. We did get a couple more super chats from Earth is Seriously Flat, said, become a globe zombie slayer by teaching children flat Earth. Douglas Falk said, hey, Bob, tell Jaron to have me on the show someday. I'll reveal that Globebusters gets a shout-out in the novel along with DITRH, Mark Sargent, and more.
Cool.
Douglas Falk. And then Earth is Seriously Flat again, said Flat Earth Army having fun teaching globe zombies. So, yeah, it's just sad when I see that. And that's why it's so easy for me just to not pay attention to anything they say. If they're willing to lie about me, then why wouldn't they be willing to lie about their experiments, their tests, their observations, the things that they say they've done or that they've discovered or whatever? It's just so easy for them to make things up. It's just like the movie, that Bob was talking about, Behind the Curve, that supposedly had Bob proving spin and then also myself proving curvature. And, a lot of people have asked, it's probably the question I get asked the most is a lot of people, well, what's your response? What's your response? Like, how many times do I have to tell people that there were 20 or 25 people at this event, some of them Globe believers? We went out, we did some observations. A lot of things happened throughout those observations. And at the end, all of us, all 25 of us, walked away and said, well, nothing was proven here. Nothing was proven today. We saw some things on both ends. We saw some interesting observations, but nothing could really be cemented as fact or say this is for sure. And so we all walked away that night thinking that exact thing. So when a movie comes out and you find out that the movie producer that was there, he was there filming, decided to take it in his own direction, that should tell you something. It tells me something where I'm like, holy smokes, this guy is so desperate to find some sort of proof of the globe inside his movie that he's misrepresented my experiment. And the only people that know that for sure are the 25 people that were there. But it's like, how many times do I have to say those things? And it's such a big eye-opener to me when you see people lying, because why would they lie? Why would you have to misrepresent the experiment? Why not find some actual proof of the Earth being a sphere rather than taking my experiment and pretending that it showed it was a sphere? It just seems like, crazy thing to me.
Yeah, it's right up there with what's his name, Underwear or whatever his name was from National Geographic. I forgot his last name. Somebody Underwear or Down or Down Under or something like that. Not showing the results of the experiment that showed that you could see all the way to the other side, and you were seeing the balloons or whatever it was right at ground level and stuff like that. And I've said this before, I also sent the explanation, a video with the explanation, because we released that information on Globebusters like 4 or 5 days later after that clip from Behind the Curve had been shot. And I sent that to Daniel along with a complete explanation, video, the whole 9 yards, long before the movie was ever released. And he just ignored it, straight up ignored it. So it tells you exactly where his mind was on, this movie. They promised us a fair shot, but, then apparently they saw some minor, a kid at Flat Earth International Conference and decided, oh my God, they're lying to kids and we've got to save the world. So we're going to lie about everything that they've said, essentially, right? Which is just, pathetic.
No, and in fact, the same kind of things happen here in the Spanish community. And when you see the Netflix movie or documentary, whatever you want to call it, they don't show any technical results. They put out there computer graphic generated images or some cartoons representing the facts, but they're not presenting anything in terms of papers. So they are deceiving people, and they use that little clip that you are outside in the swimming pool talking with the guy and making some jokes, and they put that part, I'm talking about Bob, that part was like a real, confession, and right. they misleading people completely, and that is some kind of attitude at the desperation. They are in panic mode all over the place. That there is no doubt. Here in Argentina, the mass media is continually bombarding the people's mind with basic argument. They still using the boat under the curve in the ocean. They run out of empirical evidence, so they are in panic mode.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that kind of brings us to another point where we were talking about, and Jaron, I'm getting a little teeny tiny bit of feedback periodically. I don't know if it's a level or what, but it's gone now. Okay, but so we were originally today, I don't know if you said this, I don't think anybody has said this yet, but we were contemplating having this guy on today that wrote an article for The Observer. His name is Danny Gallagher. And, I saw this, Cammie sent it to me and I read this article, and it's some guy that it was writing about the conference coming in North Texas in November, and he's really quite the asshat about it. And David, wanted us to have him on and kind of do a live debunking. And I was thinking, we could do that, but I'm not really sure that I want to come back and start, getting into a pissing match with somebody that is revealing nothing more than the very same old tired arguments, the horizon, He talks about the horizon, the big sun and moon, and of course he's very, very
Condescending.
yeah, condescending would be an understatement.
Right.
But he makes the weakest, sorriest arguments, and he's just, and I just thought, what, if people want to hear Jerry Springer, there's other channels for that, where it's all about fighting all the time, and if that's your cup of tea, then go over there and listen to that. But that's not something really that neither Jaron or I, either one, really want to do on Globebusters. So. We'd rather keep it more about the technical science and not arguing with idiot ballers that have the same argument constantly. It gets old. It really does.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is it just gets really repetitive, and if people are looking at the screen now, they'll see the article that Bob's talking about, how to prepare for Flat Earth Conference coming to North Texas in November. And as far as I know, and I can't be 100% sure on this, but as far as I know, I do think that this author of this article, Danny Gallagher, will be on Raw tomorrow night. So if people do want to hear that little bit of a conversation, I wasn't a big fan of talking to him just because of the way that he came across in his article. And like I said about people who are out there who may not want the truth, I think this is just another one of those. David feels a little bit different. Dave thinks that we can kind of talk to him and get him to see an error in his ways. So if people do want to check that out, that should be tomorrow night on Jeranism Monday Night Raw. So check that out. You can either go to my other channel, Jeranism Raw, at 6 p.m. Pacific tomorrow to check that out, or you can go to tfrlive.com and check out the whole show there. It is free for that day and the next week. So if you want to hear us go through that article, I don't think we'll do it today. I mean, maybe we will if we have time, but I think it's better to kind of go through it. And if people haven't read it yet, it's just, it's another one of those articles. It's just a hit piece. Yeah. It talks a lot of nonsense. He makes fun of people, makes fun of Owen Benjamin, calls him an anti-Semite, makes fun of Robbie Davidson. It's just people like that I don't see giving airtime to, but other people feel differently, and so we might have him on the show tomorrow, so you can check that out if you want to see that. Yeah,
but that is the kind of attitude that these guys always take to abort this topic. And here is the same. The last week, and I'm so, and I sorry for the non-connection from Uruguay, but here last week we have a conference in Uruguay with 200 people. So the people start coming to these conventions, and for example, in the case of Uruguay, was like the 60% of the people are not flat earther. They go there to see what happened, what is all about it, because they listen like a tiny publicity in the radio, so and in the television. In fact, a lot of television channels that are aborting the flat earth topic right now, they are very respectable. They change the mode to ridiculize and do all kind of things, and they start to pay more attention, because after all, at least some channels, some small channels here in Latin America, there are normal people without the pyramid hierarchy of the big channels. So a lot of people saw that kind of shows too. So they start coming in a better predisposing attitude to this conference. And the next weekend we have a really big one in Chile. We expect about 200 people also. So they are desesperated because there is there are more and more of this conference. And the nice thing about the conference, you are in touch in real mode, with real people, and you share experience and that kind of thing that everyone here experience about through the international conference. So that's great. Yeah, I'm just looking at this article here just so people can see. I mean, one of the things he says, and this is the kind of nonsense I'm talking about, where he says some of the guest speakers include the conference's founder, Robbie Davidson, who showed his IQ when he got fooled for a prank documentary by Logan Paul. I mean, that sentence alone is just such nonsense. That's not showing somebody's IQ when you get caught in some sort of a goof or prank. I mean, I've talked about it before, but I mean, you could come home, and if your wife wanted to put herself on the floor and pour some ketchup by her head,
when you walked in the front door, you're going to be shocked and you're going to get on the phone to call 911 and make sure she's okay. And if she gets up and starts laughing at you and says, "Oh, that was just a prank," that doesn't show your IQ that you fell for that. You fell for a prank. It's happens all the time. People prank each other all the time. That's not showing somebody's IQ. So when I see something like that right at the beginning of this article, within the first couple paragraphs, I was just pissed. I'm like, man, who's this guy think he is saying that showed his IQ? No, Robbie Davidson got pranked by Logan Paul, who is a pranker. Doesn't show his IQ at all. So there's just so much nonsense in this article, and you're right. Each of his facts are condescending when he says the goddamn horizon. Again, talking about this disc or this frisbee flying in space, which nobody who's a flat earther believes in. So it's just the same arguments over and over again, and this kind of nonsense in there. Is the ship sinking, or gasp, is the landmass sinking into the ocean? No, it's showing you that the Earth is friggin' curved, according to one of many NASA astronomers. It's just ridiculous that he takes the positions he takes, so it'd be interesting to have him on the show tomorrow if he actually comes on, because I'll definitely have some words for him about that. Got another super chat from Rhino, who said, in California, my Hispanic friends get flat Earth smacked by Iru's videos. Iru rules. I agree with that.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
You do rule.
Yeah. One of the other things I think that I think it's this article, but he mentioned something about the model of gravity, right? The disk flying up in the air at 9.8 meters per second squared,
right,
which of course is nowhere other than on the Flat Earth Society's channel. But as I exposed, 6 months ago on a show called Sunday Mass, that entire concept, both from conception to mathematical explanation, everything came from Albert Einstein, right? So
who was founded by J.P. Morgan, like the other guy that was the Edison and all that kind of guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's just ridiculous, the things that they attribute to flat earthers. And of course, everybody knows, and if you don't know, where have you been, that the Flat Earth Society is nothing more than a disinformation, site that all these people refer to.
Right.
Like everybody's going to go to the Flat Earth Society and they're going to see what a seething pit it is. It's almost worse than going to Slice Barcanes, really. You go there and you're met with nothing but Globers, nothing to see here. Trying to push you on and making just ridiculous points and stuff like that. And yet it is pushed by the mainstream because that is exactly who they are told to push, for the very reason so that they can discredit Flat Earth. And it's really pretty easy to see. So when anybody starts citing the Flat Earth Society, that they're either disinformationists or they simply are too dumb to do any homework on it.
Right, which certainly seems to be the case here.
Jared.
No, I was just going to say it certainly seems to be the case here, because he's just creating nonsense beliefs. It's the same thing we've heard even over and over again, even though there's explanations for them. This whole thing about shadows, seriously, effing shadows, he says. If the Earth was flat, sundials wouldn't work. And we know some flat earthers out there. It's just ridiculous. And some flat
nothing
earthers
works.
Nothing works.
If the Earth is flat, nothing works. You cannot even breathe.
Right. And then he says, we know some flat earthers out there saying something like, we don't use sundials to tell time anymore. We use our phones. Apple. No one's ever said that. So you can't just quote something and say, oh, there's flat earthers out there saying, no, nobody's saying that. Somebody is telling you the truth about the fact that if you take a small light and put it above your table and put two standing objects, I don't know, a lighter or something, that easily you can get different shadows from those two items. But what does he say here? After telling us that Eratosthenes, of course, Eratosthenes, from Cyrene was able to figure out the circumference of Earth way back in 240 BC. And remember, if they knew the size of the Earth and everything, then why did nobody go sailing across the ocean until 1492? Of course, they don't have an answer to that one. That's 1,700 years of people just saying, well, the Earth's a globe, and we know how big it is, but nobody's going to sail that direction. If the Earth was a flat plane, the shadow of an object sticking straight up perpendicular to the Earth would cast the same shadow in the same direction and shape all over the world. It's just complete and total nonsense. It's a complete and total lie, and it's just somebody who hasn't done any research. And people need to start realizing that we as flat earthers, when we see this stuff over and over again, it's like Bob said, it's just repetitive. It's the same dumb arguments that aren't even true. And if this is what you
It's
need
boring,
to go to,
yeah.
if you need to go to these things, if you need to tell people, oh, well, water goes down the toilet in different directions in different hemispheres, when it's just lie after lie after lie to get their point across, well, then eventually you have to call into question the very statement that they're trying to make, which is in this case that the Earth's a ball. Go ahead, Eero. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, talking about the Royal Society, sorry, the Flat Earth Society, this is my opinion, but it came from England. And England is a country that his institutions and his leaders are all, occultists, Freemasons, came from, monarchy. So you are expected that if you study the history behind the Flat Earth Society, you know that at the middle of the 20th century, the society was reborn by some kind of, it wasn't a Jesuit from the Jesuit order, but it came from a fanatic religious people that they make life again, that society. So there you have the controlling dissidents, if you want to call it that way. I mean, it's the typical situation where you trying to erase the original society and then take control over it, and planting there for all the people that goes can be misleading.
Right.
Yep, absolutely true. So anyway, that's what we deal with, and of course, on the debate shows, and this is why I've really never had much of a desire to do debate on Globebusters, because anybody that has ever watched the debate shows, what they see is they see the Globers come with exactly the same arguments. Neither side honestly capitulates on any point, and I will admit that flat earthers at points are just as bad as the globe earthers, in some areas of that. But that's the whole thing. It's like, it's more, instead of a process that is really meant to be a discovery, right? And an honest interaction, it's just a battle of egos, and people just want to prove their point. And I'm not saying that it's all that way, but that's kind of the way that it turns out, because of the incredible nature and the flammability of this topic.
Right.
So that's why I think it's best, and I say this to everybody, all the flat earthers, when you're doing your videos, make your points to assume your audience is somebody that is on the fence, okay? And make your points to somebody like that, and let them decide. I mean, because really, all the insults, hurling insults, and all the Jerry Springer tactics and all this stuff, ultimately is not going to bring any rationally thinking person, to any conclusions about anything. You really have to present it in such a way that it puts the ball in their court. And if they decide that it's a ball, then let them. There's no point in trying to go after that, because there's so many other people that are, willing to look at things reasonably and look at the common sense type of things. That's why when I do presentations on Globebusters, I always, and Jaron does too, we all do, we try to hit this from a common sense point of view. Like when we talk about the ISS and how, they try and tell us that, we're watching an object that's 250 miles up, that's lit up, that's the size of a 747. Well, great. Maybe if you can accept that, that's one thing. But then, carry on that line of reasoning and start talking about, 17,500 miles an hour is 5 miles a second. And if you're able to observe that craft going at that speed for 6, 7, 8 minutes, then do the math. And what the math tells you is that craft has gone the entire distance of the length of the country, and without ever diminishing, without ever changing in angular size, nothing like that. And of course, it helps to explain to them, how angular size work. You double the distance, your angular size cuts in half. It's an inverse type of relationship. Explain those very simple tenets to them, and let them figure it out for themselves. And they're going to go, wait a minute, I can't see a 747 from California that's flying over, Kansas City or Illinois. But the Globers would have you believe that. because of the fact you can see it, and they're telling you that's where it is. But you have to apply a little bit of common sense and get them to figure it out. And then when they figure it out, it's a whole different ball game. Then you're not preaching something to them; you're giving them the tools to figure out something that blatantly does not make any sense. And that's our approach, and I think it's the best approach, honestly.
I think so too. I mean, I've said, and I've evolved as a flat earther in this whole thing, where I started out thinking I need to get this information out to everyone. Then I said I need to convince these guys that are not convinced, and then I stepped back from that and said, well, wait a second. It really comes down to believe whatever you want. I mean, and I say that in every single video I do, that don't trust me. Do your own research. You can believe whatever you want. I'm just saying on my channel, my opinions, my thoughts, my beliefs, and you're welcome to listen to them and say, no, this guy's insane and I don't want to listen to him anymore, and you can block me. Or you can say, well, this guy's opened my eyes a little bit and allowed me to see some things differently than I thought, than I saw them before. And so I think that's what Globebusters does well. I think that's what I do well. And so, yeah, sometimes the debate shows or the whole it's heated discussion back and forth doesn't really get anywhere. And I used to listen to those shows. I used to listen to, what I'm talking about is the guys like Red's Rhetoric or these guys. I used to listen to their hangouts because I thought that they might have some sort of gem of information that would be good for me to hear. And then quickly I just used, like you said, Bob, it's not a path to discovery anymore. It's a path to be called names, to be told lies about, that I'm stealing your PayPal account. It's just such nonsense where eventually you just have to hang up on that and say, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just not going to listen to that anymore. I don't think anything is going to come from that. And I'm just happier presenting my information, having Iru on the show, him presenting his information. And if people don't like it, they don't have to watch. It's very simple.
Yeah.
So simple that it's impossible to do for some people.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous that it is that way. And again, I don't go on shows that I don't like and hang out in the chat or tell my viewers, okay, everybody now go and submit a complaint against Sean Hufford's pay, because I could care less. I couldn't care less. It's just ridiculous that anybody has that kind of time on their hands, that they care that much about lying about other people, trying to shut down other people. Whereas for me, I'm just like, no, you want to go listen to Sean Hufford, go listen. Enjoy yourself, and if you don't, well, you maybe came to the same realization that I did, that a lot of what's being told over there is just simply not true. It's simply gallivanting around and making fun of other people and trying to get people on your side, and I'm just not about that.
Yeah. And what is the point, really? I mean, is their argument that weak? And when I listen, I got those very same recordings, obviously. And when I listened to those guys, and Sean Hufford telling everybody, oh, make sure to report Globebusters for doing this and let's get his taken away. And they're all crowing about it. And they say, yeah, we've already gotten FE Corps under investigation with the IRS. And it's like, give me a break. FE Corps is not under investigation by the IRS. That is a complete fantasy. We would certainly know about that. We have a team of legal professionals that know exactly what's going on. But see, this is what they do. They will say things like that. And frankly, honestly, I'm very seriously considering going to the FBI over that. Not just the IRS thing, but they're literally trying to mess with my livelihood, and they are telling lies. They're inciting people. They're telling people en masse to go and do this, which is something that is blatantly illegal. And I'm sure YouTube is going to have something to say about it, and I'm sure the FBI will as well. And I honestly think I'm going to go there. I don't normally do that, but this is the kind of nonsense that you don't have a scientific argument, so you have to go and try and cause legal issues. You have to report. You have to be a little crybaby and tell them that Globebusters is using their PayPal for something illegal. I mean, pathetic.
Yes.
These people are.
Yeah, here I have like 3 weeks ago I presented a video talking about the moon landing, because it was the anniversary and that day. Mm-hmm. And I received I don't know which is the name in English, just let me 1 minute, but the guy who is the it's like we have here in Buenos Aires, in the capital of my country, we have the a planetary society. So one of the leaders in terms of spread the word about the the activities and scientific papers, that kind of thing. He claims or he proposed in one of Facebook group, which is called Friends of Astronomy. He put out there that there is a crazy guy with a YouTube channel talking about me and trying to debunk me about the moon landings and blah 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 blah. So let's try to get down his channel, his YouTube channel. I'm talking about like a guy about 45 years old who he really is a leader in the governmental institution about astronomy. So why he is going to lose his time asking in the Facebook group that they shut down my YouTube channel?
Wow.
Yeah.
So and I have the screen capture in the Facebook group. I have everything because I am, for my lack of English, I just telling the 10% of the story, but they there you can see how desperate these guys are right now.
Yeah, they're extremely desperate, and I don't know how people, other people are going to fight it, but one of the things I'm going to be doing, and if people don't know, a week ago I got this message from PayPal saying I can't use PayPal anymore, and of course they're holding my funds for 180 days, and I did get an email back from them because I tried to email them and lay out my case, and they basically just came back and said, nope, sorry, we don't want to do business with you anymore. And even though all that money that's in there is from donations, they said, nope, our policy is 180 days until you can withdraw those funds, and they just ended it at that there's nothing else. It is not a reviewable decision. It's not changeable. It's not overturnable. So, I mean, one of the things I'm going to be doing is I have a movie that I'm making right now, and it's called Rapeow. I don't know, just a play on the word rape. But so I'm doing that movie right now, and then that will be out on my Patreon. And what that does is I don't post it there. What I actually do is post it on my website, and then only patrons can actually see that movie. So it's going to be something I'm going to do going forward, is just creating some movies that are for patrons only, and just kind of preparing for the inevitable. And it's what you said, that it's not going to be long before these guys keep complaining, keep crying, and eventually YouTube does something. We've seen that they've been talking about, and if people want to join my Patreon, I'll just put that up there real quick, patreon.com/jeranism. But one of the things that, I don't know if you guys saw this, let me bring up my browser here, that there's the new FBI document. Oops, I'm not showing people. Here we go. The new FBI document that talks about conspiracy theory-driven domestic extremists and everything that's come out with that document, and how they just talk about how dangerous it is. And the white paper defines conspiracy theories as beliefs that attempt to explain events or circumstances as a result of a group or of actors working in secret to benefit themselves at the expense of others, and are usually at odds with official and prevailing explanations of events. I mean, this is like ridiculously true. That's exactly what conspiracy theories is. But now they're claiming that this is dangerous. It's dangerous for people to tell you that there's a group of people working in secret to benefit themselves at the expense of others. And it's just ridiculous. That's not dangerous. That's exactly the kind of information that needs to get out there that people need to hear. But the more that they move towards the things that we're saying are unsafe, the more that they say that it's fringe content, that it's dangerous content. And I've had so many people email me and message me, and basically just they're just dumbfounded by the fact of, well, how can they say all these things about you when the last thing you are is dangerous, But again, it doesn't come down to whether or not you're really dangerous. It comes down to what they consider and what they're going to tell people is true. And that's just the way it works all over the place. So, yeah, I mean, my movie that's going to come out about PayPal is, a lot of people might say, well, you use them, Jaron. You use them exclusively. Yeah, well, I did, because they're convenient. And when you first hear about PayPal, and I've had an account for, I think it's over 10 years before they banned it. But when you find out what they've done to you, and you start looking into it, and you realize how many people they've done it to other than you, and then you find out things like I've started to find out this week in my research about PayPal, like how easily you can purchase abortions with PayPal. So that's just something interesting when you think about it. You're like, okay, wait, so people can use PayPal to have abortions, and then how easy or how they take away, they don't allow purchases of firearms. So you can start to see which direction this company heads in, and the fact that they take your money, they say, okay, we'll hold your money, we'll make interest off it while it just sits in this account and waits for you. We'll make the interest off it, but then we're going to stipulate what you can and can't do with that money. Oh, you want to have an abortion? Sure, you can pay with your PayPal. Oh, you want to donate to Jaron and just send your money from you to him? Sorry, that's not allowed. We don't allow Jaron's talking about things that we don't want people hearing. And so they pull that away and say, nope, sorry, we're closing your account. But then if you want to purchase firearms with your own money, and they say, no, we're not going to allow that. But it's okay to pay for abortion. So really, I'm going to lay out all these kind of things and how they make money, how they screw their users. And I'm still going to talk about those things. It's not going to be just in that movie. I'm talking about them now, obviously. But some of the stuff that, is not PayPal, is not YouTube friendly. It's not okay to say if you want to keep monetization. It's not okay to, your videos are going to be labeled as not suitable for advertisers. So it's those kind of things I want to get away from, still talk about the things I want to talk about here on my channel. But I have to be ready because one day, and it may be soon, all that stuff will go away, so at least my patrons will keep me going. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. And let me just add to this that if the FBI, they are saying that the conspiracy guys are dangerous. Right. Well, maybe that is why they killed Kennedy, because the first conspiracy guy in the 20th century that complained the elite was Kennedy. The last speech of Kennedy, he starts saying the very word secrecy is repugnant in our free society.
Right.
And they continue to talking about the monolithic conspiracy that rule the world, that take into consideration a vast and huge machine that implies scientifically, military, economic, and politics, resources. So that was our lead in terms of conspiracy. So maybe that is why they kill it, directly.
Yeah, exactly. And Jaron, I don't know if you have seen, I just pasted in the chat, you brought this up, so I thought it would be a really good time to transition to it. But there is a cartoon that was posted on Seventh Day Truth Seeker, and I had never seen it before, but it is called the American Dream Cartoon. And this cartoon is remarkable because in cartoon form, what they do is they expose the Federal Reserve. Of course, anybody that knows anything about like the creature from Jekyll Island, the way that it was formed back in 1913, and it was done over a Christmas holiday. And all of this was done, under really tight security. All these bankers from around the world met at a little island called Jekyll Island, which is, I think, just south of Georgia.
Right.
And anyway, it kind of tells the whole story. But really what it exposes is that the Fed was snuck into place, and it allows this private corporation that is absolutely not an entity of the United States government, but that allows this private corporation to print all of our money and then charge us interest for it. And of course, it's no coincidence that at the very same time, the Internal Revenue Service was born as well in 1913, which of course is the collection arm of the Fed. Well, this cartoon is really, really amazing. I would recommend that everybody, we'll put it in the show notes, but I would recommend everybody check this thing out. But it's very entertaining and it's very accurate, and it really opens your eyes as to what's really going on with the financial system around the world, not just in the United States. The Fed just happens to be the American division of the central banking system, but it's the same all over. And any country that refuses to take the central banking system, essentially, see a video called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. It is absolutely amazing the level at which we are deceived, and then they just blow smoke up our butts, to try and make it cover over like it's a good thing. They actually tried to sell us that, well, we'll never have a depression again, when in fact it was because of the Fed that we suffered some of our biggest depressions ever, right? So.
No, I've seen that movie. It's absolutely great, so I'll definitely put that in the show notes. People should check that out. For sure. Iru, did you have anything you wanted to share? I know Iru has to leave shortly. I don't think he's going to be with us the entire 2 hours, but You have to vote, right, or something?
Yeah, we have elections here in Argentina today. So I prepare like a flyer, like a pamphlet with, because the last 3, 4 elections I just made. And let me very quickly. It's not going to be a technical presentation like you maybe think about, but just let me share my screen a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So I prepared this not to put inside the not to give us the vote, because maybe you're gonna lose your vote, and sometimes the people want to really, take the illusion to maybe with your vote you can change things. But here in Argentina we are passing a really hard times in terms of economic and politics. There is really, at least in my life, this is the most difficult times. Maybe when I was young, I'm just hear about the countries not so good, blah blah blah, but then start to you can live well for the last 20 years. But right now we have a president that is a completely a Masonic and guy, who works for England. So they start to, for example, when I was in 2018, when I was in England with the conference, the dollar was the half of there is today. So right now we have the dollar rise like 250% than that time, for example. So that is the kind of situation we are living here. So some people want to, believe that maybe if they change the president, the economic part is going to change, because after all, the people need to eat. So you're gonna try to elect, your president based on how you feed your family. After all, that is the most important things. So what I trying to do is, trying to wake up people in terms of the elections. So I print this kind of pamphlet, and then I put inside of the dark room. That is the name technically here when you are going to put your vote. It's dark room because supposedly you are not. Nobody can see what you're going to do inside there. So I am not putting this inside of the in the box you need to put your vote, but I trying to stick this into the walls, for example, so maybe 20-30 people can see this on the wall before some of the organizers enter to clean up the room and put the things in order again. So maybe they see this and they took away, but at least maybe 20-30 persons see before they take it away. And I propose this in my social network. So right now I receive like 50-60 messages with pictures with this idea putting into place, because I receive in message with just photograph or some videos that are out there around the country, other guys that they do the same thing. So it just we are standard people, so this kind of idea is just a little, you are not going to make the difference, but at least you are spreading the word. So right now in around 30 minutes more, I'm going to doing this for myself. So if the shows are continuing, then I come back and join again.
All right.
But sorry. Let me finish that, because here this is in Spanish. I forget that part.
That's all right. We're all looking. We're all
Okay.
looking at it like, okay, I can't really understand it.
But this part of the pamphlet, and is correct, same pamphlet.
Yep.
Okay. This part saying like, stop the new world order. We are all victims. Wake up now. And it say that the politicians are just puppets of the elite. Now we know who are the control our food, our air, our water, the vaccines, the pharmaceutical, blah blah blah. So I ask, you vote for the president of the FMI? No. So you vote for the president of the ONU? No. You vote from the Pope? No. You vote from the president of the OMS? No. You vote for the people in NASA? No. So what are you voting? Because all the presidents are puppeteers of these institutions. So, and then I just saying, okay, trying to get informed for your children, for your family, and Google, at the at politic level, Google Masons, Illuminati, Sages, the Zion Protocol, blah blah blah, and then I put some ideas in terms of socio-political branch and religious and health and science, and then I close with we need your help.
Nice.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So do you think now here in America, like, the national elections and national issues are largely an utter joke, and, for the most part, most things in any voting are kind of a joke. But, some things like local elections, like when they legalize marijuana or, stuff like that, are little small bills, actually might have some impact. But do you think overall, is it like it is here, where voting just overall is kind of a joke?
Completely, man. In fact, my last, my last, and this part I really get a study, and for me it's a little complicated to explain in English, right? And I really recommend everyone out there, because I know there is an English version. This book called The Final Dance of Cali. And if you like the type of idea like you can read in 1984 from George Orwell, well, this is like the modern the modern book of that kind of thing, with all real. It's not science fiction. It's like a documentary book, because it's all based on real facts. So the first chapter of this book is called Novus Ordo Seclorum. And they start with the at the time you have the Independence Day, then the creation of Illuminati to our days, but with really really real facts and really nice storytelling mode. So I really recommend that. But of course, in the last radio show that I have on Friday, I was, trying to wake up people and saying, okay, if you want to go out there and make your vote, it's great, because at least you can still vote. But you cannot forget that all the presidents right now, it doesn't matter if it's from Latin America, from North America, from Europe, whatever you want to call it, all the times, then in their speech, they pronounce, we need a new world order because we cannot make it alone. We need to, join other countries because our economy. What are you talking, man? You print the money, you control all the financial system. So they are, we are inside the Novus Ordo Seclorum right now. And anyone that, just study a little bit of that, that is not a good thing for the humanity, because after all, anyone out there, it doesn't matter if you are a conspiracy guy or not, but you have the intuition that the things go wrong in the world. The things go wrong, and everybody has that feeling. It's a supreme feeling that okay, yes, I'm still can feed my family, or putting clothes over me, and have some money to move and take some coffee out there, but the things are wrong. You start seeing how they contaminate our food, our air, our water. why all these guys that trying to debunk us, they don't take even 5 minutes to understand why they have this symbol in his money.
Right.
Just that starting point, man.
Yeah, it would tell them so much, and they don't want to look at it for some reason.
They don't want.
I don't know if they're afraid of it, or if, because once you realize that you've been lied to, then it's a steep slope from that point. And I think that's what all these guys are afraid of, is that they want to be where they feel like they have some control, where they have some idea what's going on, and the second they start to realize that they don't, that slope gets steeper.
Yes, yeah, completely. So when we have here elections, from I'm starting to wake up to this reality. That was about 10 years before. I'm starting to, because we don't have money to go with, and I don't think it's the way to have a political party to propose new idea. I am not that kind of guy, but I am not going to cross my arms and stay, quiet in my house. Once you wake up, you need to do something, and that is why I really like have the opportunity to share my research with people via YouTube or Facebook or whatever, because of course we know that are creating from elite to take our ideas and our idea and life in self in the daily basis, but we still can use it for the also to spread the word, and we are going to have a really close window in time to do that, and we are start to see that, because when you see at the beginning of the year the guys in the I don't know if it was the Congress or some kind of council there in the United States asking for YouTube, Google, and Facebook and Twitter to change the algorithm to don't recommend any more flatter video or 9/11 videos. That is a warning sign for us, because they are they start to being worried, and you can imagine that if the guys like Slane Parkane and all these guys are crying like babies and doing all kind of things, what do you expect from the government to do?
Right.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that really shows that, if you're wondering like who is an agent, type of thing, they're the people that will not acknowledge any conspiracy. I mean, even something as blatant as September 11th or any of those other major, they will absolutely deny every bit of them, regardless of how much evidence is there. And then you realize that it's like, all right, these guys, why are they even here? They're certainly not here to try and learn any truth seeking or anything like that. They're here as agents to try and debunk things like that. And to me, and I've said this for a long time, it is so obvious, that we have these type of people in the community, and we have to, because these secrets, so to speak, that we are uncovering and we are exposing are the very biggest things that, honestly, if these kind of things got out and were actually understood by the population in general, there would be an uprising and a revolt against these, the elite so quickly, it would make your head spin, frankly.
Even something like the moon landing. Even something that simple. I used to be in that camp where I was like, well, maybe they're eventually going to come out with the truth. Maybe they're waiting for these astronauts to die before they do it. And then I just realized that, no, they can never release that. They can never come out and tell the truth about the moon landing because of everything that it means to the public. And the public would be in just disarray. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves if they realized, well, wait a second, this is being taught in schools, and this is being taught to children, and this is what is called science, and think of all the news shows, and think of all the 25th anniversaries, 30th anniversary, 50th anniversary. Why would they do all this? Why? Well, they have to keep it going. They can never stay back. They can never just not mention the moon landings on the 50th anniversary, or people would start to be clued in.
Yeah, in fact, that's never going to happen, because when you heard one of the first speech that Bush did in the ONU in the 1980s, that they say, we take so many generations to build this new world order, and now we have succeeded to create it, and blah blah blah. So they really took how many generations from the Templar ages. So why? Because 200 people, I don't know, 2,000 people in YouTube are waking up and waking up other people. They are going to destroy his Novus Ordo Seclorum?
No.
No, but they are worried of us.
Absolutely.
That is an absolutely reality right now.
Yeah,
and that is the nice part of all this.
And that's why, if there's going to be flat earth conferences, well, they can't stop that, but what they can do is put out articles saying how ridiculous the thought is, and put out news about how ridiculous the thought is, or put out an article I saw the other day where Terry Virts comments on flat earthers, because that's their method, right? They say, well, we have here, this guy's an astronaut, we'll just have him go on TV and say flat earth is ridiculous, and that solves all the problems. But they're going to keep going with these different tactics to try and keep us quiet. And that's and it's going to be eliminating financial sources. It's going to be eliminating YouTube channels. It's going to be demonetizing YouTube channels. They're going to basically do everything they can in time. I mean, again, it's one of those things where I've had a lot of people ask me before, well, Jaron, if what you were saying is true, why wouldn't they just shut you up? Why wouldn't they just get rid of you? And it's because, well, you can't do that all in one fatal swoop. They can't just get rid of flat earth tomorrow. If they did that, that would wake a lot of people up, right? A lot of people would start asking the question of, well, what happened to all those channels? What happened? But what you can do is you can slowly, every other day, every few days, every week, just get rid of something. And this happens and people don't even realize it. Different channels losing monetization, being deleted, giving copyright strikes. And it's just slowly kind of degrading everything that's out there. So luckily there's a lot of new channels coming out, and I definitely suggest to people that if you're looking for something to do that can help this movement, it's make channels, it's watch Ebru, go to this the Euro tour, supporting that. I'll show that in a little bit to support that. We did get some super chats. We have JQ said support your creators, people. Couldn't disagree with that. We have Reopen 911. Thank you very much for that. 10 pounds. I think that's pounds. And Dank, certainly love Dank. That's $10 super chat. Thank you very much. And John Bailey, thank you as well for all that support. And yeah, it really comes down to just supporting each other. And then again, for me, it comes down to if people are going to believe what they want, this mainstream news, I'm not going to stop them. But there is people, and I think Bob said it perfectly earlier when he said your videos need to be addressed to the people on the fence or the people that have never heard of this before. Because there's some people that are just going to be so cemented in their opinion that everything we've been taught is true, that everything that the news says is true, that poor Jeffrey Epstein, hung himself in his jail cell magically. I don't know. He was given a rope and small stool for some reason. Who knows what they'll come up with these cameras being, these cameras were down. But anyway, we're watching something here. What are we watching?
Well, we're watching a piece of a really nice art. It's in English, in fact. And I believe was from a Shutdown channel. I downloaded this like 3 years ago, and it's the kind of Colbert Report, type of channel. But they are not out there anymore. I believe the name was Through Media Revolution. And it's in English, and I don't put the audio there because, of course, you are talking right now. So, but I put this because it's based on all, real images from the real life, from the real events. And, of course, it's mixed with some, movie type of symbolic things, but it's for comparison. Like, okay, they present us this in movies, but look how they present also in real life events. So, that is what I'm, I trying to fill the space when you're talking, like Bob did. We are in Globebusterish show after all, man. So
we are. I wish I could hand the reins over to Bob, but unfortunately OBS is on my computer, so I can't do that. Bob, take over.
I'm trying to. You need two people to make the things the same thing that Bob did in one person.
That's true. Bob, can you tell Can you tell we miss you?
Yeah, I could tell. That's cool, though.
When it's my show, I have the thumbnail up for like an hour, just the thumbnail there. That's my background screen, yeah. So, no, it'll be good to get Bob back for sure. Let me bring back up Iru.
I see in the chat Geo Shifter commenting, and I take the time to say thank for your also amazing work, man. So
GeoShifter's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that guy. If you guys
Yes.
not subscribed to him, subscribe. And
Please.
GeoShifter,
Yes.
we'd love to see more stuff from you. He's been around forever and has just got really, really good stuff. But one other thing I wanted to say about, all the censoring is, that's something that, to me, if I were looking at, so-called conspiracies, I would be looking at, well, what is it that they really are trying to censor and hide the most, right? Because that, I think, is an absolute dead giveaway. Because let's face it, if Flat Earth is as ridiculous as they would like to make it seem, then why is there such a concerted effort? Why is there such a major response from the media and, all these television shows and personalities and, newspaper articles and clown writers like, was writing for the Dallas Star, all of this stuff? Why are they even giving us any attention whatsoever? And beyond that, they're going on and they're going in front of Congress and they're talking about how they're going to censor us. They're putting it right out there. And if I was somebody that, didn't necessarily believe in this stuff, but I was watching this amazing concerted effort of the mainstream to try and bury something or make it seem completely silly, I'd be going, what's up with that?
Right.
So I think they shoot themselves in the foot a lot by doing that, honestly.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
I've told the story before that there was a neighbor lives across the street from me who came over and we were just hanging out in the garage and he kind of was asking me what I do and I kind of started talking to him and then we got into conspiracy talk and we got into flat earth talk and he's like, all right, give me your best flat earth evidence. He's like, I've heard this kicked around, but I've never paid it any attention. I didn't know that people even believed it. I just kind of heard it. I thought it was a joke. So he's like, so go ahead and give it to me. So we're in the garage and I probably spent 30 minutes, 45 minutes just talking to him. And everything I would say, he would just kind of, kind of like, well, yeah, but it still is this. And, it was just kind of difficult to talk to him. And then finally I just kind of got to the end of it and I was like, well, and the fact that, YouTube calls flat earth dangerous content and is blocking flat earth videos. And his ears perked up real quick. He said, what? And I said, yeah. And he's already a believer in some conspiracies. But when he heard that, he said, dude, that's the most prominent thing you told me. That's the most
Yeah, I
the best
remember
evidence.
you told this story
Yeah.
before. Yeah, I remember, and I have that kind of experience too here in Spanish community.
Same kind
They
of
wake up because they know they see how worried this elite power are doing having this kind of behavior. And you know what? Because I was showing before this picture of the Skull and Bones and blah blah blah, but you guys have out there real life event with a journalist ask for Sean Kerry and also for Bush. You are members of Skull and Bones,
Right.
and the presidents and the guy respond, yes, but it's so secret that I can't talk about it. And
Right.
all that kind of things, you cannot leave out of the context when you start studying this, flat earth thing or new world order thing, because that are your represented guys. I mean, you are voting guys that belong. They are telling himself that we belong to secret societies,
Right.
and the people forget that. I mean, you are an imbecile.
I totally agree. I think, but it's passed over in the mainstream media, right? It's barely covered. You have to actually search on YouTube to find that video. It's never mentioned in the mainstream, and so people think that if it's not mentioned in the mainstream, that it really isn't important. They have everything so far backwards that it's the things that aren't
Yes.
mentioned in the mainstream that are important.
No, completely agree, man. But I mean, the guys who trying to debunk us, they need to swallow all our research. So they knew, they see these kind of things, and they are doing that like, they don't see that, but they in real life they see. And they I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. I mean, they are so deceivers that they deceive themselves first.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Well, I think you're honestly that the guys that are going out of their way, again, to debunk us and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, there are a few people, honestly, that I think are legitimate that may have, their point of view and they think, well, the flat earthers are wrong in that. But again, you can differentiate between these people and the people that I believe, honestly, are the paid agents that are there in every hangout, everywhere, all the time. They literally they make their entire life about it. And to me, you know, when you disagree with something, me, I just shut it off. I don't even pay any attention to it. I just don't give it the time of day. And when you ask these guys point blank, why are you here? Why, if you think this is so crazy, why are you here even talking about it? Well, somebody's got to protect. It's like, really.
Yeah, the
So your
superhero
opinion.
mode.
Yeah, they're. Yeah, like they think they're the defenders. Like, people can't think for themselves, which largely is true. I will agree, but the fact that that's the excuse they see, they want you to think that they see themselves as some sort of defender of the truth, and because nobody else is able to see that how bad we're deceiving them, that they have to be here every waking minute of their life. And then they'll say, oh, no, I wish I was getting paid for this. It's like, you are getting paid for this. And I will never believe any different, and I've always been very outspoken about that. People can say, well, you don't really know. It's like, no, I don't really know. But what I really do know, because of the way that they act. I mean, let's face it, people don't do stuff like that unless there is a damn good reason. I mean, who else would waste their entire life on every flat earth hangout everywhere and trying to make these ridiculous arguments, constantly, unless they were being paid to do this? And it only stands to reason that they would be, because this is one of the government's biggest secrets. I mean, geez, you should have seen one time, it was a couple of years ago when Jaron was did a couple video like on the Hampstead kids. Oh my God.
Wow, was that crazy?
That was unbelievable. So, yeah, you just, you got to ask yourself that question. Why are they doing this?
Yes, completely, man. And because they are losing in some kind of way. Of course, they are, they have much power than us, but I believe that the flat Earth community, they are really breaking the things like never other community before. That is mine, because it's when you start to research from the flat Earth, you start to research for all the other things. The flat Earth topic connect every other topic out there. So that is so dangerous for the system.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So anyway, that's what we're up against, and then you get, there also are very clearly, I think, people within the community that are doing this. I'm not even going to go there, but I mean, it just seems that the old sayings, the old adages about trying to lead, if you're against something, you're the best opposition by trying to lead it, and stuff like that. And like I said, I'm not mentioning any names or anything like that, but it just seems like that's happening also to a large degree. So again, Jaron said it, I've said it, so many people, it's like, just, don't trust anybody. First of all, right. Trust yourself. That's who you need to trust. Don't listen to the trolls. I mean, you can listen to our words, you can listen to what we're saying, but we've said many times, do not take what we are saying as absolute gospel truth. I mean, even though obviously we believe it is, we're telling you to think for yourselves and do not give in to groupthink. That is the most dangerous thing you could ever do. And this is how the controlled opposition, works as well, is trying to, incorporate this herd mentality. And,
right. Like, you all need to agree, or else if you don't all agree on something, then you're just going to fall apart. But we all have admitted 100% that we're no authority. I'll tell you right now, I'm no authority on anything. I'm no authority on Flat Earth. Globebusters is no authority on anything. It's our opinion. And that's why I'm just going to keep being me, despite all the hate around it, despite all the people who may be agents, who may be trying to get me shut down in this way or that way. I'm just going to keep being me. I'm going to present videos on my channel, which is my opinion. And yeah, there's some things that I know that YouTube doesn't allow or want you to say, and I'll just go put those on my own website. And that's just really my way of going forward. That's all we can do.
Yeah, me too. I create my own, web page when I was shut down my first YouTube channel and trying to centralize my information and my opinions and my research, and in fact, I have all the links for the English channel that I consider nice, researchers, and also to Spanish channels or other information. And when I see this guy, and let me just close this topic with this, but when you see this kind of attitude there, I'm going to reshare the screen because I take out the audio at the first time,
Sure.
or you can hear the audio. You can hear the audio?
No.
No.
No, okay. So because this is important, this is an old video, and I believe the people out there, maybe they're seeing before, but it's sometimes it's nice to remember things, but
only once
they,
and hasn't been used since, and that is a new world order.
And those people who have been yelling, "Oh, the UN's going to take over global
Conspiracy
government,"
theorists.
they've been crazy, but now they're right.
Yeah, well, when
It's
Geithner's
happening.
that part, these
Wow.
guys out
That's
out
amazing.
there, that's amazing, man. Let me just put it again one more time, and to be in the record. But
Those people who have been yelling, "Oh, the UN's going to take over global
Conspiracy
government,"
theorists.
they've been crazy, but now they're right.
Yeah, well, when
It's
Geithner's
happening.
it's happening.
Yeah.
And that statement is so powerful, man. It's happening. Simply as that.
Well, it's all these conspiracy theories are thrown out there as
Happening.
nutball until they're happening, right? And then it's the
happening.
mainstream media who found them. It's the mainstream media that exposed them, of course.
Yeah.
No, that
They're-
is amazing.
They're not theories. That's the thing. They're far from
That is-
theories.
Right.
Yes, theories are the Big Bang, the gravity. That are theories, man. But this is realities, Guys, I'm gonna take. I need
Okay.
to leave the show because I am not going to have the time to put my pamphlet on the wall. So when I come back, if they are still running the show, I'm going to join again. So,
I think we'll probably be done. You said it's going to take you at least a half hour to
Okay.
vote.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we'll probably be cutting it at 2
Okay.
hours. So, but will you be joining me next week?
Yes, of course,
Okay.
of course.
So-
And if you want to, this Sunday I'm gonna be in Chile, give my presentation. So maybe we can. I'm gonna have Wi-Fi there and all the stuff. So maybe I can make like a reporter thing. If
A
you
reporter
want to.
thing. Yeah, you'll go live from location, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna live from location, and in Chile there is a lot of people that speak English, so I can interview some guys from the audience, and trying to just
that'll be awesome.
share with
That's next week?
the English people.
That'll be next week.
And next week, yeah,
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna be on Saturday. I give a presentation, and also Sunday. So I close the day. In the 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, I'm gonna be presented like at 6 p.m. like in 50 minutes will be the hour that I'm gonna be presented.
Okay.
So we can before that I can make like a reporter and share with you some of the experience from the people, from the public.
All right, that'll
from
be
the
fun.
audience.
That'll be fun. Thanks, Hiro, for coming on. Appreciate it. You want to tell everybody where to find you and all that fun stuff before you go?
Yes, let me just. Well, you can find me on YouTube with Nur para Todos in Spanish, or Nur for Everyone is my English YouTube channel also. You can support me on Patreon, Patreon/Nur para Todos. That will be really awesome. And Landucci at Gmail is my PayPal account if you want to support me also. So I really appreciated that.
All right, thanks for coming on. And
Well,
so
thanks,
man.
Hiro.
thanks, Hiro. So we'll see everybody.
My
We'll
pleasure.
see Iru next week, August 18th. He'll be doing a live kind of thing on location. And then, as Bob announced earlier, August 25th, check out the Globebusterish channel, as we should be back there doing our regular show with no changes other than we took a couple months off. I don't even know.
Yeah.
If it was
Bye bye,
that long.
guys.
See ya, Ira. Did he leave? Is he gone?
Yeah, he's gone.
Can we talk smack about him now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love Ira, man. He's the best.
I do too. He's awesome. And so, yeah, I suppose we should probably, talk about some of the things that obviously, I'm sure a lot of people have noticed the conspicuous absence of John the Morgile. And, I guess I'll be the one to talk about this a little bit, but as many people have seen, I mean, John has had some issues, and he is going through some hard times right now, and I can't exactly say that they are not largely brought on by a lot of the things that he has done himself. And, I don't want to go into too much detail on that. I'm sure anybody that is familiar with, has been following along, let's put it this way, has kind of been aware of, what's been happening with John. And, John has been a Globebuster for a long, long time. He is a dear friend. But at this point, I think it's pretty obvious that John has some issues that he really needs to get addressed in his life. And as a result of those issues, I think he's homeless right now. Okay, and we are absolutely wishing the best for John. We hope that he is able to get his life back together, and at some point even join us back on the show. But I think for the time being, and the next at least season of Globebusters, we're going to be probably without John the Morgile. And again, like I said, it's not a decision that was made easily, but I think that John really needs to focus on his life, and and I really hope that he can get this together. And this is by the way, guys, this is a difficult thing to talk about, man, because
right.
I mean, he's a good friend, and he's been a fabulous flat earther. But unfortunately, we cannot control John's life and what's going on in it. We can only, kind of hope for the best. But, sometimes, hitting rock bottom, I think, is what some people need to really kind of, pull up and get their life straightened out. But so for those of you that have been wondering what's been going on and will John be back, and unfortunately, I don't think so. But, at some point when John does get things back together, he'll be welcomed back with open arms. Absolutely. Because, beyond anything else, John is a flat earther. He's an outstanding presenter. He's a great researcher. But, at this point in his life, he's just, he's got some major issues going on. And we wish him the very best. We truly do.
Yeah, well said. That's a difficult thing to talk about. But I hope nothing but the best for John. I think a lot of us have helped in numerous ways. People have helped numerous times, and many people have done all that they can to assist him. A lot of us included. So I just hope the best for him, and I hope he does come back, and I hope we see him soon. But like you said, Bob, I think he's got some things he should be worrying about right now. So
yeah,
tough thing
for
to
sure.
talk about. Yeah. So, but you do have some ideas for the show, right? I mean, we talked about it the other day, Bob, that since it'll be myself, you, and Iru is hit and miss. He has a lot of events that he does on Sunday, and then he usually has to be in his studio. So it's not something quite as easy as it is for Bob and I, who usually do this from our homes. Iru has to actually travel to be to his studio to join us. So I know Iru won't be joining all the time, but you had some ideas for what might take place during those every other week or so?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, this is, I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I think, we're kind of obviously looking for somebody that is going to be more of not just a guest all the time, but somebody that's kind of will be an additional guest host. Not that they have to be there every week. And we're going to be, kind of looking at some people in the community, those that would, be willing or anything like that. But I think that it would be great if we could have, more than just the standard 3 or 4 Globebusters. And I'm not saying all on at the same time,
right?
Because when you get, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 people on a panel, it turns into a clown show,
Right.
Well, not a clown show necessarily, but it gets like a gong show. It's crazy. And it's hard to keep everybody on the same page. And usually what happens, when you invite, 10 guests every time, 8 of them don't say anything except for very little. And most of the talking is done by 1 or 2 people. But I thought that it would be really cool if we had like people that would step in, and if Jaron was gone, then maybe like one of the people I had considered is like somebody like Ben, Taboo Conspiracy.
Absolutely,
I think would be an excellent person to stand in, and it would also give our audience a little bit more broad perspective, a little bit of diversity. It's not the same old, and we're trying to keep it fresh, because that's one thing that I did notice during this break is a lot of people they're covering a lot of the same stuff. Sometimes it's in different ways, but I think a lot of times it helps to have even though somebody's talking about the same subject, their particular spin on it is a little bit refreshing, right?
Absolutely.
So
Just a different
that's
voice.
what we want to kind of do. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, just a different voice sometime, even if it's saying the same thing, just having somebody else's voice, their personal perspective, and that's what I really love. I used to love the what was it called? Round Earth Skeptics or Ball Earth Skeptics show, something like that. But there was
John LeBon show.
yeah, but there was like 5 or 6 guys, and I didn't mind that one guy was against flat Earth or one guy's for it, or because you got to kind of go through and hear each person's perspective, and I just love that kind of format. So I've always been a fan of. I liked when we had the 4 people on Globebusters. I think probably 5 is getting a little heavy, but even 5 would be okay. But just when you're able to bring up a subject and then hear 5 people's perspective on it, I think that was always great with John, myself, and you and Iru, that you would kind of bring up a topic, give your opinion, and then we'd kind of go around the round table. So I really like that a lot more than having 2 guys go back and forth, or even 3. I think that it's just better, and like you said, it's a different voice, it's a different opinion, it's a different perspective on the issue, and I think it's a breath of fresh air to hear different people. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if I already see people in the chat, making suggestions, oh, this person,
Right.
and that's cool. It really is. But like people, I haven't even approached Ben. I think that he might be open to it, but I would love to have Taboo Conspiracy on more, quite a bit more, because frankly, I think he's one of the best researchers out there. He's really good. He's very well spoken, stuff like that. And even other people, I've even considered like Russian vids, stepping in occasionally, because he always shakes things up and brings things around. And I think, I think that's a good thing. And, I wouldn't even necessarily be opposed to having somebody that wasn't quite a flat earther. But this person obviously would have to be, I don't know, that's a tricky one, right? Because, there's a fine line to draw there. That would be a tough one.
Yeah, but I think it's a good idea, and we'll just keep that open. And yeah, if people have ideas and they want to leave comments on this video or get in touch with Bob of who they might think, but I'm sure, Bob's got a huge list of people that he's considered, and we just think it would be good to kind of rotate some people in, have some different perspectives, have some people. And I love to use the channel to call out other channels too. So, you have Ben on, and he gets to promote his channel and get to talk about some of the things he's done, or have Zachary Zabala on and have him talk about some experiments that he's doing. I think all that stuff is great. We did get another super chat from Dan Morris, who said, never have we seen groups of paid shills attacking believers of Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster. Funny how we can watch ancient alien marathons on mainstream TV, but we can't mention Flat Earth or be attacked.
Amen to that.
Comment. Yeah. Yeah, we feel your pain. Yeah, it's definitely not easy. Bob, I'm going to share my screen real quick just because I don't think you're watching me. But I did want to show one thing that I just thought was interesting. And I really think we just need to open our eyes to what is going on around us, because some of it's ridiculously obvious. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yep, I see it.
Okay.
I see your OBS anyway.
Yes, that's good enough. So let me bring this up real quick. It's just an interesting video that I saw the other day. I don't know how old it is. When is it from? From June 19th, 2018. So it's quite a bit old. But it's just funny. It's just VFX artist reveals how big SpaceX rockets are. But it's just funny when you see that these VFX artists, what they're able to do. And we see this thing landing on the water and all that stuff, but then what he does is he kind of takes you inside of his little studio and just starts playing with these visual effects. And to me, it's just crazy when you see this stuff. And at first, you might be thinking, "Oh, well, that doesn't look real." But watch when he goes inside this room and he's showing you how big the legs of this rocket are. But, he's putting these things on the wall. They look like it's right there. So I think people fail to realize how easy it is for these things to be created nowadays. Look how real that is. So when you do see a SpaceX rocket on a launch pad, or you do see it on a boat, sometimes you just don't think people realize how easy it is to fake that. And then people see this and think that this is real. But they don't realize how easy it is to fake all this stuff, or to put this circle here, or it's just really easy to fake things, to put this. I mean, people might say, oh, this thing landed right here next to it's a video. So, it's hard to argue. I just think people don't realize anymore, Bob, how photographic evidence, how even video evidence at this point isn't good evidence anymore.
Well, or even being there. And this is something that I've mentioned before is, so many times I cannot even mention how many times people have sent me like the longest, most elaborate tour of the ISS, right?
Right.
Where they're floating around and they have all these uncut scenes. And it's like blah, blah, blah. But what they seem to forget is, they'll sit there and go, well, they didn't have that technology back in the 60s. It's like, no, they didn't. But what they did have back in the 60s, and I'm dead serious when I say this, is they had magicians, okay? Now, I remember watching back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, a magician by the name of David Copperfield, right? Most people are familiar with this guy. Lately his predecessors like Chris Angel or, other people like that. But even back then, he was doing things in front of live audiences that were certainly not limited to making the Statue of Liberty disappear, making these huge things in front of live audiences disappear. One show that I will never forget is when he was on there with like Claudia Schiffer, and he was flying around inside, and he flew inside of a box, and they covered him up with all the box, and he was floating and flying around. And for his finale, it's like, well, people could make the argument, well, there was some sort of hidden wires, but then his finale is he walks outside of the theater and he flies away. Right? He flies away. This was like 30, 40 years ago. And, if you think that whatever technique they were using back then, if NASA is not practicing those same techniques or understands it and is utilizing that, just because it's not known, generally known to the general public, doesn't mean that those type of sleight of hands, the technology for them didn't exist, 100 years ago. I mean, look at Houdini, right? And some of the stuff that he did. So, it's not all dependent on technology. This entire other art form or form of witchcraft or Satanism, however you want to look at it, it has been performed in front of live audiences for decades, right? So, it doesn't have to be technology to do this.
No, and when you add to that, the people that are watching these magic shows are generally close by, but the people who watch the launches, the landings, are like 11 miles away, from what NASA's doing. So it's not like they're right up next to it, and they can take videos, but I just don't think people realize how easy it is now to create fakery and to adjust photographs and to manipulate video with VFX artists. I mean, again, if you go back to that one part that we were just watching, I mean, that guy looked like he was in a studio with the leg. I mean, that looks real. And if somebody's standing next to it and say, this guy was standing next to this leg, it's hard to disprove that and say, nope, this leg isn't actually in there. Of course, he would admit that. But again, I mean, this part of the video here, I'm pretty sure this is completely fake too, right here, where this plane turns around, because I don't think they've ever built this rocket. So I don't think that's the BFR that's supposed to sit on top of, and I don't think it's been made yet. So I'm pretty sure this video that we're watching here is not even real. So again, but how would you know? So I just hope people realize that video evidence and photographic evidence are not sufficient anymore. And it's certainly interesting when you go back and look at NASA and you look at some of these things that they were doing in the 60s and 70s, that all of it looks like it's done with models behind some black draping, and Iru's done a great job of showing that it's all these mechanical motions. Nothing looks fluid. And I think that's kind of locked them into some of those observations or some of those positions, because now if they showed anything too extravagant, people would go back and say, well, then this is clearly bullshit. So I just think it's hard for people to recognize what's real and what's not anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So even being there, the people that say, well, I was there, I saw those things come down. And you know what? I don't doubt that they did. I truly don't.
Right.
But the mechanism that actually created that, seen, whether it was real or an illusion or whatever. I mean, we clearly have the technology to do that now. They've been researching holograms in wide open spaces, for quite a long time. In fact, I was reading an article last week. There was an article about, was it a zoo in Germany that replaced all the animals with holograms? They're that real.
Really?
Right? Yeah. It's
Holy
just,
shit.
so, and if it's true that the government is always 40 years, 50 years, 100 years ahead of our technology,
Right.
then the tired old arguments of, well, they didn't have that back and they didn't have Photoshop in the 60s. It's like, really? And you know that? How? Right?
But then you have to ask yourself, what did they have? And then when you learn it's, front screen projection and those kind of things, and you go back and look at the moon landings and you're like, well, that's clearly what was used. People should just start coming to their own conclusions. And this is why we do this show and we talk about the things we talk about, is because we just want people to open their minds a little, use their minds, look at what's been presented to you, and realize that it's nonsense. Or if you want to believe in it, you can, trust that and believe it if you want. But I just don't believe known liars anymore. It's just, I can't do it. One thing that I know we were talking about Epstein earlier, but this is something I showed on Monday Night Raw last week, and I didn't get to show it because we were on the radio. But just wanted to show that you can go to the Wikipedia and find the Little St. James, U.S. Virgin Islands, because I was saying something about Lawrence Krauss, and then I saw a comment from somebody saying that I was lying, that Lawrence Krauss was never on the island, and why would I make that up? And this is exactly here where it says visitors. So we're talking about Epstein's Island. This is, you can see here, it has been dubbed the Island of Sin. Little St. James is also known to the locals as Pedophile Island or Orgy Island. And then you can go down here. It says, according to The Independent, Epstein's Island developed a reputation for depravity and is alleged that teenage girls were made to take part in orgies on Little St. James. And just down a little bit further, you can see here, court papers allege that visitors included prominent American politicians, powerful business executives, foreign presidents, blah, 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 blah. Of course, everyone's heard about the Prince Andrew of Duke of York. But down here, go a little bit further. Before Epstein was charged with unlawful sexual activity of a minor, am I good? Sorry, I didn't know I had this on. Before Epstein was charged with unlawful sexual activity with a minor, Stephen Hawking visited the island with a group of particle physicists, cosmologists, and theorists, including 3 Nobel laureates, and the experts on gravity, dark matter, and string theory. Go a little bit further, and you'll see right here it mentions Lawrence Krauss. So I certainly wasn't lying. I wasn't making that up. And it says, Krauss said most of the conference took place on the neighboring island of St. Thomas, but Epstein had thrown a party on Little St. James. So anyway, people have all heard that Bill Clinton was supposedly there and how many times. So this is just on the Wikipedia. This isn't like I pulled something out of nowhere. This is Wikipedia, Little St. James. And if you go here to this article, in the Phoenix Times, former ASU professor defended Jeffrey Epstein before his own sex scandal arose. And just, of course, these guys are crap, to say the least. But Krauss here says, Jeffrey has surrounded himself with beautiful women and young women, but they're not as young as the ones that were claimed, said Krauss in a 2011 interview. He says, as a scientist, I always judge things on empirical evidence, and he always has women ages 19 to 23 around him. But I've never seen anything else. So as a scientist, my presumption is that whatever the problems were, I would believe him over other people. It's just funny. Oh, boy. So, and of course, then Krauss became I think he got fired, right, from his position.
Yeah.
Last time
I was kind of getting the giggles because I was sitting there trying to imagine what it would be like to have Stephen Hawking at an orgy island full of teenage girls.
There's photos of it. I've actually seen photos of it. Yeah, it's a little laughy, definitely. So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I did want to mention the FE convention. Definitely go to feconvention.com because we have the Amsterdam conference, and that has been changed a little bit. It's just on to basically an informal Friday, informal Sunday, which will include the Globebusterish tour, but then a kind of packed. Do they have it on the schedule yet? I'm not even sure. So they kind of updated the schedule here, so it's kind of a packed Saturday now, and then there's going to be a comedy, open mic, a campfire, a party, all that stuff will be on Friday evening. And then on Sunday, there'll be activism on the streets of Amsterdam with the Globebusterish Euro Tour. And so that's exciting that we'll still be doing that, so people should check that out. And if you want to go, again, it's feconvention.com/Amsterdam. You can also find all the speakers that will be there, myself included. Number 1 spot. I don't know if that was recent. Dave Murphy, Zach Eru will be there. Karen B. Rodrigo Ferrari Nunez, the PhD, will be there. Martin will be there. Daryl Marble, the Globe Light Tour. So if you click on the Globe Light Tour, I don't know if a lot of people know about this, and I'll be doing a video this week on it, kind of following Paul on the Plains video, which we'll show here in a second. But that's not a very good map, actually. But there is a map. Let me see. How do I get there? Globe Light Tour. Bob, have you heard much about this and the fact that they just purchased their motorhome?
Yes, actually, Roxanne and Jason called me last week right after he had bought it, and he was talking about, promoting the spots. And we're going to be, actually promoting that very much. But if we can get a lot of the sponsorship going for that thing, you can your favorite flat earth channels, you can support their Patreons or PayPal or whatever, and that will help get them really large spots on the van itself. And currently the one that he's showing has Globebusters as the biggest one. Yahoo!
Look at this path they're going to be taking. I don't know if people can see it, but this is the path that they'll be on, basically traveling all across the continent. I forgot what, and we'll watch this video here. This is, if I can find it, this is a little bit of Paul on the Plains video, and I'm going to give him a little shout out. And if people, he's already got a head start on his fundraising. He's trying to get the biggest logo on the bus. But let's listen to a little bit of what he's got to say. And he talks about, I think it's 14, I don't know how many thousand miles. Let's listen.
Hey there, Paul on the Plane here, and in case you didn't know, at the end of this month, the Globeli Euro Tour team will be climbing into their newly purchased motorhome, seen here, and embark on their massive 14,000-mile journey.
Yeah, it's 14,000 miles. That is crazy. So they're going to be on a 14,000-mile journey, and they're basically going to be decorating this motorhome with flat earth channels, right?
Mm-hmm.
This the GB back here is already Globebusters. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think that's what it's for.
Yeah, no, we actually have the big slot on the, I think, on the passenger side, but it's it's just mocked up. It's not actually painted that way yet, but that would be really cool. But they were thinking about it. It's like this is a rolling billboard. That how much money have flat earthers paid for billboards, and this is something you're driving around 14,000 miles. And highlighting some of the best channels in flat Earth, I think it'll be far more effective than just your standard one place billboard.
Right. Now I know you and I haven't talked about this at all, but I was going to think about doing what Paul on the Plains doing. So if you click down, go on Paul on the Plains channel, and you see here it says donate here. We'll pop over there real quick. So this is kind of the mock-up. There you go. Yeah. So this is kind of the mock-up, and of course Globebusters here, and they've kind of got a price, and this is what it's going to take for them to fund this whole trip. And you can see a little jeranism here. You can see Paul on the Plane here. So I guess what each channel is going to do is try and raise some money to have their logo placed somewhere on this. Are we going to do a separate one for jeranism and Globebusters, or I guess we haven't talked about that. Probably should talk about it.
I don't know. I think, we should probably talk about it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
but,
we'll figure it out.
Because
what I'm thinking of doing is I think I'm just going to start my own GoFundMe, do a video where I talk about it, maybe do a live stream, and let people who are interested, and I'll put in $100 of my own or something like that, just to donate to the Globeli Tour, and then people can either because what I think Paul's doing is matching. So if anybody donates to Paul, he's matching that up to $1,000. That's why he has a $1,000 goal. So I think Paul's going to beat me already, especially with this little plug I'm giving him. But but no, I'll still try and do the best I can to get, even if it's just a smaller logo, I'm sure some people will donate. And then we'll do the same thing with Globebusters. And this will really help out their tour bus as it tours across the UK. Were you going to say something? I didn't know if I stepped over you.
Nope, not at all.
All right, we'll just let Paul talk a little bit more here real quick just about it. It's interesting.
Throughout Europe. They'll cover 39 countries and over 64 destinations as they flat smack their way across the continent for many months, and they need all of our support. So, in the spirit of competition, every channel that wants to participate in a fundraising effort to ensure the Globeli Tour has the resources to complete its mission, we'll be calling out to his or her subscribers and supporters and viewers and listeners, and whoever's community raises the most funds for the Globeli Tour will get the biggest logo and placement in the best spot on the Globeli motorhome, which will be seen literally by millions of people over the next few months as the tour navigates all across Europe. Now, come on, guys. Let's not let David Weiss or Globebusterish
Rude.
or Mark Sargent or anyone.
And I'm showing his video, and I'm telling people to go go to GoFundMe.com/GlobeLive POTP for Paul on the Plane. Donate there, and if we, with mine, hey, at least I think I saw, what is this, 200 pounds. I'm thinking if I give $100, I can get enough people to at least get me a little logo. And if we can go bigger to this size, that'd be awesome. And we'll do the same thing with Globebusters, and I think it's such a great idea.
Yep.
So.
Awesome. I do too. That's going to be great.
So anyway, check out the Flat Earth Convention website, and then they'll actually be passing through. And you can find the schedule. I don't know. Yeah, here it is. Tour dates and locations. Oh, it's a download. Okay, we're not going to be doing that right now. But anyway, you can do that if you want to see where they'll be exactly. And they'll be meeting, of course, in Amsterdam. So we just talked about the Amsterdam schedule and everything. So Sunday, when we're talking about the activism on the streets with the GlobeLive Euro Tour, that's where they'll be. They'll have showed up there perfectly in time for the Amsterdam convention, which will be the 27th, 28th, and 29th, main day being the 28th. And again, get your tickets now. I really want to build this up. I would love to see some people there. And the prices, if you go to Tickets Amsterdam, is not bad. I think for the whole weekend, you can do $100. Oh, that's two people. Yeah, so that's really, so two people now is $100. One person, 55, or pounds. Sorry, you have to figure that out in American dollars if you're from here. But I'm sure most people going will be from the UK. So, Bob, you giving any more thought? You thinking of heading over there, or probably not?
No, I don't. I had originally been invited on that, and we have so many things going on, and plus the fact with the move going on, I doubt I'll be able to make it. But so Dee Dee wound up giving my spot to Rodrigo Ferrari Nunez.
Oh, cool.
And I could not be happier about that because I really like Rodrigo, and I think he's got some awesome work. So by all means, I support that 100%, and I hope it goes well for them.
Yeah, me too. So, so definitely support that. And I'm just trying to see if I had anything else. Did you have anything you wanted to share? I'm just making sure all my tabs are done. I believe that was it. I just wanted to make sure I covered that.
Yeah, a couple things I would kind of wanted to talk about that we had come up with some additional experiments, and I think that we can do in FE Core. It doesn't necessarily have to be an FE Core. In fact, Zach Ace McLeod and I were talking about this, but I don't know if you saw the recent video by Peter and Pete. And I don't normally watch those guys because, honestly, I mean, they're likable guys and everything, but I'm not sure about some of their ideas. But in this particular video, it was called "And You Thought Objects Fell at the Same Rate." Wrong. And of course, I've been talking about that for quite some time because I believe there's electrical influence that will actually change the rate of fall for things. But what they did is they went and they made this video, and they made these bottles and put different weights, different liquids and weights and solder, and they put all this different stuff in them, and they let them drop not from like 6 feet above the ground or 5 feet above the ground like everybody typically shows,
right?
But they dropped it from like 60 foot above the ground, and there was quite a dramatic difference in the rate that things fell. In fact, over 60 feet, I think their last test that they did showed about a 5 foot difference arrival times, but one hit the ground and the other one was still 5 foot in the air. Now, some people are going to say, well, that's the buoyant effect, whatever. But it made me think about, what we can do is like we can do tests that we could actually change the charge potential on these objects that are being dropped, i.e. We could charge it up with like Zach Zabala has a Van de Graaff generator, right? And you can put a heavy charge potential on something. And so we were thinking about doing something like that and just replicating the test, which would be fairly easy and really cheap to do. But and also filling the bottles with the same weights of stuff, but different elements, different elemental materials. And I don't think it really matters that we're dropping it through an atmosphere because they're both subject to the same conditions, as far as the atmosphere. Then really the determining factor is going to be either the charge potential of the object we're putting inside of it, or the elemental makeup of it, which and I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I have my thoughts on it for sure. I think that different elemental materials and different charge potential materials are going to fall at different rates, and I just think it's a very interesting experiment to kind of elaborate on. From that. So that's something that I think we're going to be doing fairly soon. So even though I don't typically watch them, I'll give a shout out to Peter and Pete, at least for giving me the idea.
Right.
And yeah. So, and some of the other things that we're going to be covering in, the upcoming season of Globebusters, and this may or may not cause a little controversy, but there are flat earthers in the community that are big fans of quantum mechanics. I personally think quantum mechanics is horse hockey. I think it can be debunked quite easily. One of the things that goes along with the idea of believing in quantum mechanics is that light is a particle, which is utter nonsense. And I think, there's one thing that you can just ask yourself that completely debunks the idea of light being a particle. One simple question is that if light is actually particles, and it's going through, if you're shining a light through the air and then that light goes through a different medium, i.e. a fish tank or some sort of water, and then, it's going supposedly at 186,282 miles per second, before it hits that, or roughly thereabouts. It's supposed to be a vacuum, but whatever, before it hits the water. And then when it goes through the water, it's dropped to about 2/3 of that velocity. And then when it exits the tank again, it's back up to the 186,282 miles per second. Well, if first of all, if it is a particle, or even if it's a wave for that matter, if you really think about it,
right.
How is it doing this without breaking the law of conservation of energy? That's one question that quantum mechanics and quantum physicists have never been able to answer. I mean, quantum mechanics is so full of holes; it's utterly ridiculous. And I'm really going to be kind of going after that. Because the mainstream accept that. It's kind of an offshoot of relativity, and I don't think it is something that really people need to be buying into, because it is a load of crap, in my opinion, and I'm going to be debunking it, as part of some of the things that we're going to cover in the upcoming season of Globebusters.
Sweet.
So,
I haven't been that excited in a long time. That's something I definitely want to be there for, and yeah, I hate quantum mechanics, so I want to see you bury it.
Yeah, it's a load. It really is. And like I said, I know there are other flat earthers that name their channels after it, but sorry guys, it's a hoax, and it will never stand scrutiny. So,
Good.
That's what I'm going to be doing.
Well, that sounds good. And so people who didn't hear earlier, we will be back August 25th with Globebusters on the regular Globebusters channel at the regular Globebusters time. So definitely, if you're not subscribed there, I will include a link in this. Oh, it's already in the description. Globebusters is always there. So, yeah, come check that out. And then next week, I'll be back on this channel, and Iru will be here. And
I may even join you if I'm
cool.
available.
Yeah, sure. Always welcome. So, yeah, Bob, maybe Bob too, and Iru will be doing something live. So, any final words, Bob, before we head out for the day?
Other than, I'm happy to be coming back, and like I said, when I left, I kind of had a crappy attitude, and I didn't want to be doing Globebusters with such a crappy attitude. And the break always does a lot of good, I think, for anybody that's, because we get trolled a lot. We get a whole lot of crap, and it's hard to deal with. So the attitude adjustment has done me a lot of good, and I'm glad to be back, and I'm ready to hit it again.
Good. I'm happy to hand the reins back over to you. I struggle with them a little bit. Not the best driver of No, but it'll be great. I think people have been missing you. I get a ton of messages all the time from people asking, where's Bob? When's Bob coming back? So it'll be good to be able to give them a date now, and everybody can check us out then August 25th as we come back. So I believe that's it. Again, if you want to support this channel, the best way to do that is, of course, through Patreon. As I mentioned earlier, I'll be starting to do some patron-only movies. It'll be on my website, so if you want to get in line for that, patreon.com/jeranism. You won't miss much if you don't, as I'll still be talking about all those things on my live streams, on my Monday night show. If you want to check out the Monday night show, that's tomorrow. Check that out 6 p.m. Pacific to 8 p.m. or 9 to 11 Eastern. That's at tfrlive.com/listen live if you want to check that out, or on my Jeranism Raw YouTube channel. And we should have Danny Gallagher on. That's the rumor. So, again, don't quote me on that, but he might be there. Might be an interesting show if you like a little bit of contention.
Good luck with that.
Yes, thank you very much, Bob. I'm going to let Dave run that one while I just
there you go.
bite give me something to bite so I don't get too upset. No, but I mean, just that article, if you want to check that out, it will be in the show notes, as will all the links that I discussed today. So if you want to support this channel, Patreon's the best way. You can also do so at Venmo. At Jeranism is a pretty cool little app. It's easy to sign up for, and then you just search for at Jeranism. Send me $1 or $2 if you want to support that way, but you can no longer use PayPal for supporting me, but you can use PayPal to support Globebusters if you want, and that's paypal.me/Globebusters. Correct, Bob?
That is correct, yes.
All right, so guys, we'll see you soon. Bob possibly next week, but me for sure. And throughout this week, I'll probably be doing a video in the coming days about the Globeli tour and how you can support possibly getting my name on the back of that bus, which I think would be pretty cool. So I remind you guys to do your own research, and that's about it. Because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. Till next time, guys, this has been Jeranism and Bob and Globebusters and Iru Landucci. We'll see you soon. Peace.
Peace.